The Digital Circles Podcast, giving a voice to Northern Ireland's business network. Brought to you by Private Label People. With your host, Paul Mooney.
Hello, hello. Welcome again to another episode of the Circle Back Show. I'm good at those rhyming things when you come in, first thing. Just noticed that.
So that's one thing you're good at?
Yeah. 1 out of 100% record. That's here. Can't beat it. As ever, I've got two gentlemen with me who know various things about lots of things. Robert Rickey.
Thank you.
Michael Elliott.
Oh, thanks.
And we'll give wee Travis a shout out here too, because he never gets a shout out. But
he's been very busy.
Yeah, thankfully he's very quiet because we can't afford a microphone for him. But yes, welcome. We had Alan Teggert in with us. He is the CEO of Sport Changes Life. They are a charity that work in communities to help young people find a brighter future. And they do a lot of work with schools and sporting institutions, and they try to bring education to young people through sport, which is something that resonates with me because I struggled in school. You wouldn't know that by looking at me. But I was...
Sorry, should I have laughed there?
Well, you went to the same school. You were a few years down below me, but you probably heard. I was frequently thinking of, can we go out and play football now? Why is this guy speaking in French? I don't have any interest in that. But yes, I think what the Sport Changes Life do is it's excellent for young people who need a different way of learning or are maybe being a little bit left out under the, how would you say, the historical education system that maybe they can learn in a different way.
Well, I have to say, whenever we had him in and we heard everything Alan had to say, like it resonated with me because I'm a person who didn't overly benefit from the traditional academic system that we have in place. And if there'd been like maybe another approach, one that was a bit more active or, wasn't quite so, I don't know, like exam based, maybe like that would have really benefited me back in the day,
Yeah, it's funny because the education system we have has been around since the beginning of the beginning of the 20th century.
The beginning of time.
Yeah, and it never really changes. And I know there have been people who have campaigned for change on it, but still now it's quite draconian in some ways. There'll be some teachers listening to this that might not like that being said, but well, it's only because I struggled, okay.
Well, it's not a slight on the teachers. Their hands are tied as well because they're tied into the system. And yeah, I would say without going too far down that line, I do feel like the education system is extremely formal, and B, it's designed to make civil servants. Let's just cut to the chase. That's exactly what it's for. And I didn't do too bad at school. Like I certainly wasn't top of the class. I wasn't bottom of the class. I didn't really apply myself, if I'm being 100% honest. And even I would say that. I would say that the system does need to be changed. It needs to be radicalised, but without being radicalised to take away from the good parts of it. I think far too often, especially in this country, what they've said is, let's just dismantle it and restart. And it's like, no, take away the bits that aren't working, leave the bits that are working. So it's like whenever we had the 11 plus, which it was in my day, now it's back into like an AQE or the GE, isn't it, the other one? Mm-hmm. And it's, you've just recreated exactly the same thing without actually addressing the issue. So it's become politicians yet again, civil service yet again, and what Alan was really talking about was just a little bit of a change could make quite a big difference. And even, I don't know about you guys, but even like sport and PE was almost academic in our school. There was an element of, don't have fun doing this, don't enjoy yourself. If you're not good at, well, in my school it was rugby. If you're not good at rugby, you're a failure. It's like, well, what about the guy who can run around the track really quickly, or what about the girl that can actually play football? We weren't exploring those things. Whereas, I think with what Alan's doing is, it's bringing a bit of a break into the monotony sometimes of the school day, and that will actually then help the kids learn French, learn geography, learn all these different things, because they're getting that little bit of physical education and a wee bit of a break from the formal stuff that they have to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's excellent. The schools nowadays, with the facilities they have compared to what we had when we went to school, like most of the schools you drive past now have 4G pitches and great sports halls, and you go to these open days for schools. My daughter's at that age where you're viewing them, and I mean the setups compared to what we had those. Remember the all-weather hockey pitches that took a layer of skin off your leg in the winter? And
well, they were all weather, all sports.
Yeah,
you played everything on it.
They weren't particularly good for rugby, really, were they?
no.
Didn't stop them trying it.
And the wide range of sports now also that schools offer compared to, like when we were at school, it was football, rugby, maybe a bit of hockey, cross country. That was about it, really. And obviously GAA, of course, in certain schools. But nowadays there's a bit more. What was the one Alan was talking about? Was it paddleball or something?
Oh, pickleball.
Pickleball?
Yeah,
I've never heard of
that. It's kind of like a social media popular sport currently, and so like he's saying it's like one of the most quick growing sports in the world. That's because it's primarily grown on like TikTok, like its popularity.
Is that the one with the ramp style things and the almost like a beanbag, or have I got that totally wrong?
No, I think it's like small form tennis.
I think that's how he described it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm completely away.
Get Travis to look it up there.
Yeah, he can look that up. But actually, I'll tell you a really interesting one. I know we're not really at this section yet, but it was a bit of an outdoor sport for our school. Not really an outdoor sport, but it was cricket, and we were not really a cricket school. There were other cricket schools in the area, and in our first cricket match, is it a cricket match?
I think it is. Yeah.
A game of cricket.
Was it a one-day game?
Yeah, it was. It wasn't like a school test match at Lord's. Like
you get out of school for 3 weeks.
We're just heading off here. We'll at least be back next week. We were beaten 2-1. Now I don't mean 2 games to 1. In like we were actually beaten 2 runs to 1.
It's a fast-paced game, that cricket, isn't it?
And everybody else says, like, how? And then I tell them how, and they realise, because we were all out for 1. So the other team only had to score 2.
Jeez.
And it was our 7th man who scored the run.
So 6 ducks.
6 ducks. Followed by a run. Followed by wild cheering from the sidelines.
Just 1 run?
Just for 1 run.
Oh, that's excellent. That reminds me of a programme Freddie Flintoff did about growing up in Lancashire, where he was from. You didn't really tend to play cricket. He was from like a council estate. Mm-hmm. And he somehow fell into a cricket team, and they were going to play like the sort of the public schools in England. Did you say public schools in England?
Yeah.
Yeah. It would be the likes of,
Harrow and
Hogwarts type.
Hogwarts.
Yeah.
That famous English school, Hogwarts.
You've actually found Mike's specialised subject there. Public schools in England.
Well, he was talking about, driving up the big gravel lane towards the big fancy school, and all the guys came out in their whites and their, their pads, and they're taking air shots with their cricket bats, and they're sitting in their tracksuit bottoms, football tops on. They're having to play these guys.
Did you ever play cricket, Mike?
No. I was athletics and rugby. In my school, we actually didn't even have football. Well, other than people playing at lunchtime and the quad or whatever. But yeah, rugby and athletics for me.
Yeah, you got that look about you as you could have been a cricketer.
Does actually. He's quite tall too.
I've been told I've got cricket face before, whatever that means.
Hit the face with a very hard ball at 100 miles per hour.
See, while Travis is looking up that other thing, get him to look up what cricket face is, because that has to be a thing.
Is
That's
it Jimmy?
brilliant.
Jimmy Cricket?
Well, he might make an appearance.
Yeah, more about him later.
Come here, there's more. That was him.
It was some boy, our Jimmy. Pickleball is a racket or paddle sport. Oh, sorry. Thanks, Travis. Pickleball is a racket or paddle sport in which 2 players or 4 players hit a perforated hollow plastic ball with paddles over a 34-inch high net until one side is unable to return the ball or commits a ruled infraction. So it's just a bit like tennis, only with a hollow plastic ball. And
so what they've done is they've taken table tennis and we could create another sport out of this.
Pretty much.
Right. Okay. Got it now.
Yeah. What they did really was like the iPad of tennis. They had laptops, they had phones, and they just went bang in the middle. Let's go for something about midway between the two.
Yeah. I would say I would be interested in that if I wasn't 44 and about to have a heart attack. It would keep you fit, that one. Like, they always talk about squash. Squash is really hard on your knees and your
squash is deadly.
Yeah, burn some
And I think
calories.
this is similar, actually.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Get down to local leisure centre. And
I'm gonna give that a miss.
you were talking about really fast growing sports. Futsal is another one. It's like a indoor type of football.
You were actually speaking to somebody from a futsal
was.
body, weren't you?
Yeah, I think he's a secretary for the league. And it's very interesting. So there's some of the guys in the Irish league play it. They probably shouldn't, but they play it in their spare time. But it's high energy.
Allegedly, they play it.
Well, yes. Contractually, they don't. But it's sort of fast-paced, moving subs. So a little bit like ice hockey. So that it's roll-on, roll-off substitutes almost. And I remember, it's obviously you're big in the ice hockey, Robert. Mm-hmm. And it was only really a couple of years ago I went.
Watching it, by the
way. Well, we did get the big bubble that time, that do it down at
I
the
will
Jets.
clarify it's watching.
But I had never really watched ice hockey to any great degree before, and I always remember thinking, why do they make so many substitutions? And then we did get in that big orb thing that they have down there, and even that was absolutely exhausting, so I can't imagine how exhausting it is actually playing ice hockey, because they do cover some distance in quite a short space of time.
Yeah, there is a couple of stats of like how much they sweat basically on the 60 minutes of play, and also it is 60 minutes of play because the clock stops and starts every time it's in play. So there is quite a lot of and they are going extremely fast.
Yeah.
And they're sometimes boxing the head off each other and doing different things. So it's a very extenuating sport. It's probably not one that they can do. So they're probably going to have to be relatively selective with the types of sports, because they've got to engage with the school kids.
Yeah.
So it can't be anything too out there. It's got to be something that the kids want to play.
It's got to be accessible, I imagine, like something that they can all not only find facilities for, but afford to play. Mm-hmm. Sports like ice hockey require quite a lot of equipment. Mm-hmm. Maybe not everyone can afford that, where the likes of futsal or pickleball, I imagine, low cost.
Yeah, and you're bringing...
level.
It is that thing too of like, the team sports are brilliant for exactly what they're trying to do. I'm not saying that golf or things like this doesn't have an element to what Alan's crowd would be doing, but team sports, and as you say, Mike, cost effective. You can play football with one ball, take jerseys off, put them down. You've got goalposts, things like that, or the likes of the pickleball where somebody brings the net, the bats, and the ball, and you're away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found it fascinating when he was talking about some of the guys that come over from the States to study here, and it's part of their scholarship. They come over and they would play basketball, and then they would go into the schools. Can you imagine sitting in primary school and like a 6'9" basketball player walks in? That would be cool. I remember in our school actually, Mike.
I think I know what you're about to say here.
Well, maybe you do, but I was just going to say about Methody. Whenever they won the schools cup, they'd have brought like the supposed to be upper sixth guys in, or whatever, that were in the rugby team, and you were looking at them going, these guys are huge.
Well, they were like celebrities to us.
Yeah.
They also had beards. You know, whenever you were in first form, like you were 12 years old, and this 18-year-old guy had a beard.
Yeah.
It's like, he goes to this school, he's a man.
Well, I can remember, it was in like quite quick succession that brought in the first 15, the Methody first 15, and we thought that was like the bee's knees. As far as I was concerned, you know, people had heard of the Methody first 15 all over the world. And then like within weeks, I think we had like, was it Zodiac from the original cast of the Gladiators? We were like, there's only one of her. Got 15 celebrities in here. The other one's like
I thought you were going back to the Russell Grant conversation again with the Zodiac.
Who was your favourite gladiator?
Oh, male or female?
Well, either. Well, I was of that age, I suppose, so probably Jet.
Yes.
Yeah, had to be Jet.
Jet, or from the fellas, I always kind of like looked up the what do you call the fella? Warrior. Yeah.
I quite liked the Wolf guy. I know he was the.
I'm not surprised.
He was the baddie, and he was probably the least gladiatorial of the gladiators. But he added a bit of flavour to the whole program. He was always trying to do something. You know, he was always injecting a little bit.
He's
of
a bad guy. They have, you know, it's back on TV, don't you?
Aye.
But it's not.
Well, I'm just pretending it's not.
Yeah, and they've got a guy who is trying to be Wolf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do they have somebody who's trying to be just John Fashanu?
A Wooga.
Making up words.
Probably Walsh and his son, isn't it? Yeah, but I just think that's a great opportunity for those guys to come over here and learn, and then they also then sort of act as ambassadors when they go back across the water to the States. They can talk about Northern Ireland, and I think they do some work down south as well, so they can talk about what they did here and take those stories back, which is great too.
It's a bit of an export then, isn't it? Mm-hmm. You know, whenever you think about it, you know, but you don't know what they could be, and maybe there's more to be done from the local businesses and the business things of like saying to them whenever they're going back, you know, here's this, that, and the other, and give them a little bit more information as to what's here.
Well, I mean, in terms of like North America, you know, we're saying like exchange students and so on. There's a lot, and I'm sure the guys take note of it. There's a lot that they do very well with the smaller sports, where, you know, you'll find, as you say, college students might get bursaries or that money of some sort for playing at a high level in near enough any sport. And it's much less the case, I think, in the UK that people could find that they could further themselves from playing the likes of pickleball or, you know, lesser prominent sports.
It probably goes two ways as well. There's always, you know, a bigger country like the United States, they'll always do certain things really well, which can be transported across to here. And I guess you're sort of looking at bigger styles of things, franchises, big businesses bringing decent jobs and stuff in. But it also goes the other way as well. You know, there's things that they don't do as well that we can really excel at. Mm-hmm. So it's having that connection, those networks. It comes back to the network again. And it is kind of businessy, but it's also developmental. Maybe it's sports. You know, we've had a number of sports players go across to America because it's a bigger league and different things, but also then sort of developing different networks of business and connecting the two together.
Mm. And just to go back a wee bit, we're talking about the education system and how it hasn't really changed. If anybody has a spare 5 minutes, they should look up Sir Ken Robinson's TED Talk on the education system. He was a Liverpudlian author, speaker, and he does a fantastic speech on the education system and why he feels it's quite draconian and needs to be changed. It's really interesting.
It is, actually. I listened to it a while ago. It's a good, very good TED Talk.
Witty as well. He's very funny on it. He's a great speaker. So yeah, and I completely agree with everything he said. You've got people who are not good, perhaps at written English, maybe not good at maths, and we are trying to push them down those avenues whenever they maybe are really artistic, or maybe they're really good at sport or whatever it might be. And I think that's a little bit like what Sport Changes Life are trying to do. If someone is really into sport and not good at their studies, well, they can then give them a pathway to excel in that instead of being told by the teacher that they really need to concentrate on their studies and sport comes second.
Yeah, it's also doing 6 hours of something that you're not good at, or you're not excelling at. Well, if you did 4 hours and that was broken up by a couple of other hours of things that you were good at, it's going to transfer in, and you're going to sort of look and say, well, I sort of have to do a little bit here in order to get this. It kind of makes a lot of sense, but it's not always academic. Oh. And I do come from that sort of background, but I completely agree. It's like there's areas that we need to find the skills that these young people have, because they have skills. Mm-hmm. We just need to find out how do we find out what it is that they're good at well before they reach the age of 16, 18, 21.
And even just as a core premise, if you can get people at that age leaving to have dedicated themselves heavily in a direction and have got some enjoyment from it or seen some success from it, that I think is worth a lot more than having them sit down and hate being in a room doing something that they don't feel is right for them.
They always started to talk about, and a lot of people have said about putting some form of business scenario into school. And while I don't disagree with that, I think it's a little bit weak in that, just putting another sort of financial or mathematical business study scenario in, it's just going to be treated exactly the same way. Whereas if you look what can be done now and where younger kids can really excel, it's the online area. Mm-hmm. It's the online platforms that they know so much about. They enjoy them. They interact with them. And then it's potentially around that way of, well, how do I connect the two? How do I connect TikTok with business? Really easily, right? But it's like, give them the platform to go and do it, because actually they'll end up being the teachers. It's all about that freedom of expression. Give them the roadmaps of what can be done. Give them the foundations. Give them the basics, and then encourage them to go take those chances on those different things, and then support them through it.
Let's face it, we're all winners. For your chance to win fantastic prizes from our rolling monthly competition, just head on over to digitalcircles.click/give or follow the link in the description.
We had some correspondence from our last circle back.
Oh dear.
It was a very disgruntled person from Ballymoney.
Right.
They said they
wasn't Jimmy Nesbitt again, was it?
He's from Brisbane, isn't he?
Nobody seems to want the...
nobody's claiming him. Per James. Yes, they said that, we mentioned that Ballymoney and Ballymena have a bit of beef. Mm-hmm. They mentioned that they didn't have any beef with Ballymena, but now that we had chosen Ballymena ahead of them in the alphabetic town list, that they now do have beef with Ballymena.
We created beef?
Yes.
Beef?
Le beef. Well, I don't think they were expecting a reply, so I replied saying, well, actually, if there was a town up there beginning would be that I was thinking of alongside Ballymena, it was actually going to be Bushmills. So, and I got an emoji back. In fact, I got 2.
Nice, were they?
Yeah, lovely. I don't know if they're customary to Ballymoney people.
Is there going to be Ballymoneyans?
Yeah.
Is there going to be like an insurgence of Ballymoneyans into Ballymenians territory?
Maybe they're all heading down the motorway on their Vauxhall Novas to attack Ballymena.
A road, you mean?
A big tractor cavalcade. Yeah, so we've upset the pedestrians of Ballymoney.
Why are the pedestrians?
Do they have cars?
Why are the pedestrians? All of a sudden they became pedestrians. They're all walking now.
Well,
they're going to take a while getting down from Ballymoney to Ballymena if they're walking.
It's also famous, obviously, for the Dunlops. So there's not many people come out of Northern Ireland who are more famous than the Dunlop family, to be fair. So I'll give them a wee bit of airtime. Sorry, Ballymunions.
100%. The I would call it a dynasty that the Dunlops have
Absolutely
created in road racing. Unbelievable. That's road racing, by the way, not road raging. Joey was not known for taking the face off somebody because they stopped at a red light.
No, he wouldn't have stopped. He'd have just kept going. He was some boy. He and that film, was it Road? Have you watched the film? Oh, you've not seen it, Mike?
No,
It's
where's we?
amazing. Yeah,
Some of the
sad,
footage,
very sad, but amazing.
some of the footage around, like on many different road races around the world, but on the, I guess he's probably best known for the TT, and like that Isle of Man race is, it's frightening to watch on TV. So God only knows what it's like to be on a stripped out engine. You know, it's just basically a carcass of an engine, and you are literally flying around those roads.
You got to hand it to this part of the world. Like, for the size of us, we do churn out a fair few very good racers of various disciplines. Like, but and another one actually. Speaking of movies, is, if you haven't seen it, Crash and Burn by Tommy Byrne. Oh, I'd give that a watch.
Oh yeah,
Brilliant,
Yeah,
brilliant. Yeah.
I'll have to put that on my list.
Oh.
I watched Ford versus Ferrari recently. It was okay, but I didn't know Christian Bale was English. I thought he was American.
Okay.
And then he does this accent, and you're going, that is the worst English accent, because it's not that bad, but it's very generic English accent. You're going, he couldn't make that sound any more generic if he tried.
But that's his actual voice in real life.
Yeah, I would assume he's probably Is he? Does I have never heard him being interviewed. Does it?
He sounds like someone from EastEnders in real life.
Oh, really?
Yeah, kind of.
he's London.
What, mate?
Yeah.
How's it going?
Pout.
That is news, guy. If you'd have said what nationality is Christian Bale, I would have said American.
Oh, there you go. He's a fantastic actor. Amazing.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
He's very good. Yeah.
I watched an interview with Tom Hardy recently talking about Christian Bale.
Now there's an actor.
Yeah. A wee bit of man crushing going on with Tom Hardy.
Yeah, I think the majority of people do.
Oh, he's only small.
Oh, do you like him tall, dude?
I like him big and chunky.
Someone who can look after you.
Put Tucky in at night. No,
Talking of which, what Tom Hardy character is your favourite at the minute? Or, you know, of the roles that he has
great
he's
question.
done.
Ooh, I do like Bane.
You like Bane?
Yeah. Though you don't see much of his pretty face. He's doing Bane.
No.
Do you know what I actually love him in? And it's ridiculous because you don't see much of his face in that either. But I just love the end sequence is Dunkirk when he gets out of the plane.
Tremendous in Dunkirk.
Yeah.
Mike, any
Well,
preference?
it was him who played. He did Bronson, didn't he?
Yeah.
I think that's my
Did the
favourite,
Craze
even though
as
it's
well.
quite a while ago. It's
Well, it was the one where everyone discovered him, and do
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And he
was apps. It was just such a different role. It was a great movie, but also such a different role. But I do agree. Not that you get this. He's not in a lot of Dunkirk. He was fantastic in that as well.
He did the Craze as
Yes.
well, and he did
Did both of them?
yeah, and he was amazing in Peaky Blinders, like
Yes.
unreal. He's so good. What? Yeah. So there we go. That's Tom. He's not from Ballymoney.
He's from
Oh, he's
Ballymena.
Imagine if you found that out. There's loads of random people from Northern Ireland that you don't realise are from here, isn't there? Well, there's like Eddie Izzard. Was he born in Bangor? Or he just lived in Bangor.
Eddie Izzard.
Eddie Izzard.
Didn't know it. Bear Grylls.
Bear
Another one.
Grylls, Donegal. Yeah.
Oh, there's a bunch from the north of Ireland. I see.
Yeah. Julian from UTV. He's from Northern Ireland. No way.
Sam Neill.
Sam Neill, yes, who's again a bit like
Oma.
Christian Bale, somehow manages to do an awful accent.
Yeah, terrible. You're going, oh, jeez. It's like, no, just speak normally.
Yeah. So yes, apologies to the Ballymunions, and we'll not forget you. And even when we drive past you, because you don't really drive through it, you drive past it. Anyway, I suppose that leads us on to C, the C word.
It does.
So it would have to be, thinking of my stomach as usual, Cookstown, because it just reminds me of sausages and bacon.
Mm-hmm.
Processed meat. My favourite.
The Cookstown Sizzle.
Hope Johnny Pierce isn't listening. I'm not allowed processed food.
There's nothing processed about Cookstown sausages.
So I had to. Where was I? I was somewhere last week, and I was struggling for food options, and I had to eat something very quick out of a well-known bakery.
Oh yeah. That's a good time.
And I was sort of looking over my shoulder, waiting, and like you're thinking he's going to be there, but thankfully he wasn't. So I snuffled it. That was
Cookstown actually would be my chosen sliced ham, packaged.
Okay, yeah.
I prefer to buy it in the butchers, but if I was buying it in the shop, it is but it's their premium one.
Do you like the one with the wee crumbs around it?
Oh, aye.
I've never seen a pig with wee crumbs around it. Imagine a pig rolled in crumbs.
Well, I must say, I do like that pig.
I think the first time I heard pork fillet, that was what I imagined it to be. A pig rolled in breadcrumbs. That'd be good, wouldn't it?
That is true. I wonder how they get the breadcrumbs to stick to it.
How did they come up with the crumbs idea around ham?
I know. I just think they were looking for a way to fool us into eating wafos and thinking they were fancy.
Do you think it was because in the butchers years ago they'd sawdust on the floor?
Weirdly, I don't know why, it actually tastes better. That has to be placebo, but it does.
A wee crumb?
Crumbed ham tastes better than the normal.
It's good. I got sacked out of my first ever job. It was a spar. I'm not going to mention where it was.
Were you rolling? Did you create the crumbed ham?
No, I got sacked for carrying on with a meat slicer.
I knew you were. I thought to myself, he's not going to say that because that's so obvious.
No, there was myself and another girl who worked on the counter. She was a couple of years above me in school. I was only, 13 or something. And she worked behind the deli counter. And her favourite pastime was carving wide chunks of meat off this big slice of ham and handing me them on like a polystyrene dish and me wolfing them into me whilst I was doing the cordials. It was a cordial relationship. No, and then we both got the heave ho for eating all the meat.
Some would argue, rightly so.
Eat the profits.
So what sort of level of meat did you go through?
I wouldn't want to put a weight ratio on it.
Oh, that sounds like it's quite high.
I think it was there 3 months and it put on 2 stone. No, it was substantial. It was a Thursday night. Usually I was working with her.
So they managed the spar managed to get into the data feed and work out, here, on a Thursday night, there seems to be quite a large amount of cooked ham. Crumbed cooked ham going out the door.
Disappear to the back room, find Paul Mooney lying in a heap covered in sliced ham.
Yeah, I was the cordial boy. I was the drinks boy. So I had to keep on top of all the fizzy pop and all that and putting out the juice and as well as all the canned stuff. But there was a problem with that. The guy who owned the spar had 2 massive German shepherds that were terrifying. I was petrified of these 2 things.
Well, I hope you shared the ham with them.
Well,
get them on side.
Maybe that's why they kept attacking me every time when I smell the ham off me.
Get them on side would be my first port of call.
Yeah, but all the drinks were kept out in the back warehouse, and every time you went out, these 2 dogs were literally growling and snarling at me, and I was petrified. So I used to struggle to top up the lemonades, and I just stood at the deli counter because that was my safe place.
Aye, because you were getting fed.
But yeah, so
it is quite interesting though, because there's a relationship to Northern Ireland people or Northern Irish people in the howling rain and carved ham, because whenever we are in the howling rain, we actually look like carved ham.
Gammons.
Yes, we've got that. We've got that pinky exterior, especially whenever it's rain and wind battered.
Well, yeah, we do actually. You can spot us a mile away on an hour. Where were we coming back from? Ibiza or something years ago, and somebody said to me, "Which queue do you think is ours?" and they were being serious as to getting on the flight home.
You don't need the monitor.
No, you just looked and you went,
look.
see that girl over there with the 3rd degree burns on her shoulders.
Yeah. What you're basically looking for is cooked ham and potatoes. That's it. Just look and see, does that person look like cooked ham or a potato? That's our cue. That's our gate.
There's a guy over there with 7 bottles of Vladivar in a plastic bag and a massive Toblerone. No, we're pretty easy to spot on international vacation. Yes, but Cookstown, I don't know an awful lot about Cookstown. I've Wikipedia'd it, and I still don't know an awful lot about Cookstown.
Have you ever been there?
I think so.
It's a nice wee spot.
Is it?
Aye.
Okay.
It's got a big wide street, main street in the town, and it would be described as a good wee shopping town.
Cookstown. Right.
Oh, aye.
1.25 miles long, their main street, as I discovered
I
earlier.
thought you were going to say wide.
No.
Geez, that is wide.
That's not.
That would be pretty wide.
Yeah.
I think somebody told me Corridor has a really wide street. And if you drive through
Bangor,
yes, if you drive through Corridor,
it's another sea town.
make sure you drive through it fast. But it is pretty wide. The street is quite.
In fact, don't drive through it. Look it up on Google Maps. The experience will be so much better.
I can say that. I don't live too far away. It's all right. Me and the Corridorians are all right. You have to, yeah. So what's a Cookstowner?
I guess.
Well, the Cookstowners will be looking at me now. And they'll be too
Well,
happy.
they'll be on disgruntled on the email telling you that they're actually Cookstownese.
Well, fair play to them. They can get in touch like that angry Ballymunion. The famous person from Cookstown that springs to mind is, of course, Jimmy D. Cricket.
Mm-hmm. They don't get much more famous than that.
No.
No.
He wore like a wee hat, didn't he? Like a wee
He
bowler
did,
hat.
and he wore welly boots with the
That's
turn-ups
right.
on one side of L for left and the other side R for right.
That's right.
He was quite an...
He's still going, I think.
I think so.
He's still with us.
I think he's still alive.
Is he still like doing
I
appearances?
don't think he's on.
Still doing one night at the
Yeah.
Apollo.
I don't think he's on a world tour like with Taylor Swift.
He was always one of the boys that was booked for like the Royal Variety because he was safe. Like he
Oh,
wasn't,
yeah,
he doesn't
yeah,
curse or anything.
Yeah.
And but he was always quite a. Whenever you were sort of growing up, he was kind of like an odd, but in an interesting way, sort of character. You didn't really know what way to take him because I know he was obviously comedy, but it was very unique. Like he was a unique kind of dude.
He was, and then I always used to wonder that. Because my favourite was Frank Carson.
Oh, aye.
Cracker.
That's the way he told them.
You all right there, mate?
I don't know why that tickled me so much.
But I used to wonder were him and Jimmy big rivals off the comedy scene. I know where's that bastard.
No, I like to think that Frank and Jimmy would have been like, they'd have been great boozing buddies, wouldn't they? That's boozing, not boozum.
He's drinking out of his welly boots.
Yeah. But like you could just imagine the pair of them down the pub and they'd just be like an odd couple, but they'd be absolutely brilliant.
Jimmy Cricket down the pub with Frank Carson.
Frank Carson would be upsetting a lot of people and Jimmy would be trying to sort of smooth it over.
Here, Frank, will you see my wee party trick with a welly boot here? Tell me, mommy, about this one. Here, on a cracker.
I'm telling you, this is something that needs to be, you know, Jimmy and Frank go to Cookstown for a pint. It's like that's where it is. That's where it's at. Get rid of your Game of Thrones. Get rid of any other Breaking Bad or any other Netflix series. That's where it's got to be.
Hello, Mr. Spielberg. Yes, I've got your next big summer blockbuster.
Exactly. Starring Christian Bale.
We were out years ago and we were at a bar and there was a wee man come into the bar and he was an absolute doppelganger for Frank Carson. And geez, boy, I feel guilty to this day that I torture him.
Was it Frank Carson?
It could have been, honestly, it was like the double of him. We were button for him, like, and he he seemed like a personally nice wee man, but I tortured him for about 2 hours by just appearing over his shoulder and impersonating Frank Carson in his ear hole.
Maybe he could play Frank Carson in our show.
He could. And who's going to play Jimmy Cricket? Christian Bale. Hope his Northern Irish accent's better than this English one. But fair enough, you know.
Tom Hardy's the barman.
There was a time and a place when comedians like Jimmy Cricket were on your television screens. Now we'll have to be rude and offensive if we're going to be a comedian, which is why Michael Elliott streams out about 3 hours of this show every week. Yeah. Anything else from Cookstown that you can think of that's famous other than processed meat and Jimmy Cricket?
Well, the processed meat, Cookstown obviously had two people from here who were very famous doing adverts. It was George Best and Pat Jennings. But
Pat Jennings looks like he wore the sausages on his hand for fingers. His hands are that big.
Well, I think his hair is made out of the sausages. But he also did an advert for a company called Unipart. And you have really got to see this advert.
Pat Jennings did?
Yes. Pat Jennings is obviously a famous goalkeeper in football. And he was in goal, saving shots, while wearing a costume of a piston.
Like a car piston?
Yes.
Okay.
This was on national television.
This is a career highlight for him then, was it?
I mean, you need to watch it.
That's, in Northern Ireland folklore, that should be up there with Jackie Fullerton getting suplexed by giant haystacks that time when he broke two of his ribs. Do you remember that?
No, but I want to see it now.
He got body slammed live on TV, and giant haystacks literally picked him up and threw him onto the floor and broke his ribs. Jackie, tell you.
Where was Jan Haystacks from?
Ballymoney. Ballymunion. I wouldn't be slagging his town. He'd get wee haystacks on you. There's somebody else from Cookstown here has come up. Wee Travis has just handed it to me there. Oliver Shepherd.
Right.
He was an Irish sculptor, most famous for his 1911 bronze statue of the mythical, I don't know how you say it, Cuchulainn? Isn't that right? Cuchulainn's an Irish?
I think it's Kilcullen.
Kilcullen?
Yeah.
Okay. It was a statue of him dying in battle. And his work was also part of the art competitions, the 1924 Summer Olympics and the 1928 Summer Olympics. That's not a bad person to have.
Oh, that's pretty solid.
I wonder, did he do the one at George Best at the International Football Stadium there? That's is absolutely horrendous.
Well, hopefully he didn't, because then it'd be a really bad thing to mention him. Because whoever did that doesn't need to be mentioned ever again.
Don't forget, for your chance to win fantastic prizes from our rolling monthly competition, just head on over to digitalcircles.click/give or follow the link in the description.
George Best.
Gareth Brooks?
Gareth or Garth?
Gareth Brooks.
Gareth Brooks. He's Northern Irish.
Sports commentator. Yeah, no offence. If you were the person that did that George Best statue, well...
Need to hang up your trowel.
That's really bad. There's one of Cristiano Ronaldo. Have you seen it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a smasher. That's a cracker.
But the George...
It's like a Picasso statue.
Yeah.
This thing. Like
6 noses.
But the George Best one's about 4 foot.
I know. There's like 6-year-olds getting their photo beside it and they're taller than it.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
I know we are the land of the giants, but you're not supposed to look like a land of the giants.
Yeah, it's sort of embarrassing. You get international football teams come to play at Northern Ireland, their supporters are getting their photo with that.
A world famous footballer who Pele said was best footballer ever, and you've got that long thing.
Not good for the gram.
Nope.
But there's a bit of furore at the moment around somebody that our families are going to see soon, Taylor Swift.
Oh.
See, Dave Grohl had a pop at her.
Oh, did he?
Aye. Her tour's called, is it Eras Tour?
Yeah.
Dave Grohl said...
are you from Ballymoney?
He said he prefers to play live or something.
Oh.
What was it he said about her? I'll get Travis to look it up here. But There's a lot of Aer Lingus flights being cancelled at the moment too, and she's playing down in Dublin, so you might pick up a cheap ticket.
Well, Aer Lingus are a disgrace to the airline industry.
I wasn't looking for them to be a sponsor of this show anyway.
I do feel like they are the worst airline in the world. And
That's a big claim. Have you ever flown with Garuda Indonesia?
they are fantastic compared to Aer Lingus. They're literally fantastic. I cannot say enough bad about Aer Lingus. I could go on for hours, and I'll probably mention it next week as well.
Like, don't go easy on them, Rob. Here,
Well, they seem to be just like sort of following me around, creating chaos and havoc anywhere that I go. Even though years ago I swore that I will never fly them again, and I would actually take a route outside of, like, I would disrupt my own route to not fly Aer Lingus. So, for example, if I had to go to, let's say, Manchester, and the only airline offering a Belfast to Manchester was Aer Lingus, I would fly to Liverpool.
Do you know?
Get a train.
Just thinking back at you, I think there was on a couple of our like more trouble in flights to and from the States.
Absolutely.
G&A were Aer Lingus for them.
Even Europe, even domestic, they're a shower. They're an absolute shower. So that's just my opinion.
Travis has got back to me. He's getting lazy though. He emailed me this. He didn't even give it to me.
Aer Lingus are looking at you.
You know,
You're the only one they're looking because they've let everybody else down.
Taylor Swift, our tour is called the Eras Tour.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Dave Grohl said, we like to call our tour the Errors Tour because we actually play live.
Like Dave Grohl getting salty though, like he doesn't strike me as a chap who gets salty.
Yeah, it's a bit odd, isn't it?
He
He was so like leave that over there. You don't need to get involved in that. Look,
no.
He's probably just having a wee joke, Dave. He was at a Liam Gallagher concert recently. There was a good video of him.
I know why he's a bit upset. He just flew Aer Lingus.
Yeah, we all sympathise with you, Dave.
But sorry, you were saying about the Gallaghers.
Would you put Ryanair above Aer Lingus?
Oh, I mean, I absolutely hate Ryanair, but they're miles better than Aer Lingus.
Of all the airlines I hate, they are my favourite.
They're a walk in the park compared to Aer Lingus.
I'd say if this gets clipped and sent to Michael O'Leary, he'll be quite happy about that. That's a recommendation.
They should. I would recommend them well over Aer Lingus.
Yeah, well, they're notorious for flying you to the city near to the city where you want to go to.
Yeah, but at least they actually fly you.
Well, that's fair point. Well,
and they do generally bring your bags along with them.
Yeah.
Which is quite nice.
Yeah. Well, look, we can't feel too sorry for Taylor because she's an actual billionaire.
Yeah, although I read something there the other day where it was like she is claiming that after her shows in Dublin, after paying for all the costs, she's making €26 a night. Serious?
He's for real?
Well, I'm for real that was the article that she's claiming.
24-carat golds on every member of the audience or something?
I don't know where she's staying in Dublin, but I know Dublin's quite expensive, and I know the hotels are pretty chunky whenever you go online, but I think she's hit the wrong filter.
She may have just gone in the cafe on Seine and bought 2 pints, and that cleared her out.
She's got whatever it is, 2 or 3 sellout nights to 50,000 people, but she's managed to find the only €1 million a night hotel in Dublin.
Well, do you know what her favourite food is? And this brings us back to a previous podcast.
Chicken goujons.
Pastel de nata.
Chicken tenders, as they would call them.
Yeah.
That's her favourite.
They shouldn't
food.
They shouldn't call them that. So, is she playing?
That was possibly the most condescending remark I've ever heard you say.
So this would lead me to believe that she's playing Clocker then. She's playing the GAA grounds down in Clocker.
The Chicken Goujon Festival?
Yeah.
It's chicken tanners.
She could play the what do you call it? The Clocker Valley GAA ground. get 50,000 in, and I bet you should make more than €26 a night because there's no hotel there.
Sponsored by Clogger Valley Meats.
Yeah,
that's a good wee business.
Oh, wow.
It's a good wee business. If you're coming through Clogger, stop there. You'll get a good. You get this type of weather.
That's another
good
town.
Barbecue selection. It is. Yeah, it is. It's in that we.
There's not a lot going on in Clogger, but it's definitely worth a stop. And as you say, if you're going to stop anywhere in Clogger, the Clogger Valley Fine Meats.
Yeah, or 5 Mile Town.
Yes.
Because you can't say one mood saying the rest. Just to finish off, of course, have you sampled anywhere that you've been to that you've thought, that's the business by?
Do you know where I went to? And it's one of my favourites, haven't been in a long, long time. But I made a point of doing it, was Fosco's ice cream.
Oh, aye.
And it was fantastic.
Dirty
really, really good. Just a very, very simple ice cream. But the whole way right through, I really cannot choose between Fosco's and Brennan's. I literally cannot separate them. I have a funny feeling they might be punking me. It might be exactly the same thing.
On their license.
And I've been for years trying to work out which one of these two is slightly better than the other.
Oh.
I cannot separate them.
Fosco's is the business.
It's tremendous.
It is brilliant.
Also, is Brennan's. I literally cannot split them.
Yeah.
So I'm going again tonight.
Well, fair play. You can't beat Fosco's. I do have an issue with Fosco's. It goes back some years, and it was because my mother left me there one day and forgot that I was there, and came back an hour later, and I was only a very small child.
But that should have been a really good thing. Imagine getting left. If you're going to get left anywhere, get left in the ice cream shop.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think it failed an exam that day or something. She wasn't,
because you weren't doing the. You weren't in one of Alan's classes during the day.
She genuinely thought I'd got back into the car and drove off, and I wasn't. And then panicked like mad and couldn't find me. And eventually, the penny dropped at the last place she seen me. He was getting in through the door at Fosco's. So, and the girls at the time looked after me, so I can't complain too much. But there is a wee bit of trauma still attached.
Is it because they had no cooked ham?
Well, yeah, Fosco's and cooked ham would be Fosco's with ice cream. Or sorry, cooked ham with ice cream.
That's a good afternoon, that.
Yeah. Meg?
Mine's more of a sort of, it's an interesting one, probably needs a bit of context. So I'm doing a wee bit of writing at the minute, and
I thought you were going to say something else there.
The background to it is a kind of like market stall / car boot style thing. So this weekend we made our way up to Nuts Corner for a bit of research on the subject, and I gotta say, like, it's more so it definitely provides this kind of very necessary service to some people. Also, it has not changed, I don't imagine, for a very long. I mean, I say this, I've never been before, but I imagine it hasn't changed by what I was looking at going on around the place. And finally, just from like a business standpoint, if you want to see people reacting to sort of like what the demand seems to be in real time, like, and just kind of picking up on the tone of the crowd and changing the way they're doing things, or changing the way the items are laid out, or changing the price they're going to charge, there's no better place to see it. I thought it was fascinating as a study. Like,
it's almost like it's one of those things where you would call it's an institution.
Yeah,
like it is an institution. But you're dead right. There's so many little business lessons all in the one area, and even just taking a traipse up, as we would say, to go through it. If you are in business or thinking about it, going up and just seeing all the different little elements of the pieces and trying to almost put it together for yourself.
It's something. I mean, it's even we'd my kid with us, and like, other than the fact that there was, I don't know,
you didn't leave him in Fosco's.
Other than the fact that there was about 100 ginormous bulldogs knocking about the place. It's a cracking place for a kid walking around looking at stuff, as long as the bulldogs are not part of the equation.
Selling XL bullies on a stand up there.
You do realise, Mike, that to a bulldog, your kid looks like
one of those wee pigs with breadcrumbs.
Ham rolled breadcrumbs.
I won't lie. I was very on edge for quite a while.
The bulldog is looking at your kid going, Cookstown.
It's just covered in cornflakes. Yes, I've a wee bit of a trauma about Nuts Corner as well, because somebody borrowed my vehicle a wee while ago and it came back smelling of burgers, and it smelt of burgers for about a month. And every time I went to wipe the windscreen, with the window wipers, the congealed fat was on the windscreen, and it took 2 car washes to get rid of it. So
is there anywhere that you don't have trauma? Would that be an easier one to do? Okay.
Well, I will say I was in a place on Sunday, which is quite close to home for me, so apologies, I'm not going really outside of boundaries, but...
is it your next door neighbour?
No. The stables in Groomsport, or as AI called it the other week whenever I put something to do with Groomsport in it, Grimsport, which was fantastic.
Can't wait for G-Town.
One of our members of our other business actually called Stainfield by mistake, which I thought was hilarious as well. Why did we never think of that? But Groomsport, the stables, which has been there for a long time, but it's under new ownership. They've done a lovely job inside, and actually, do you know what was really good? The food was lovely, but what was really good was the amount of staff. There was loads of staff on, and really attentive, and really quick service. And sometimes you go into a restaurant now, you struggle to get served quickly, and I understand that there's big cost element to run a restaurant and staffing, and I know food costs are through the roof also, but loads of staff, and they were all really, really good, and they were serving a big party. There was a christening, there was a lot of us in, so fair play to them. And then after that, we walked across the road to the Groomsport Inn, and we sat on the decking. It was a nice evening for a wee while, just for about an hour, and they've an outside TV on the decking, and it's a lovely wee spot too, just overlooking the harbour and all
right,
and the beach.
Hope you bought something while you were in there.
We did.
You didn't seem like you were too interested in buying anything there. It was like, I went down to Groomsport Inn, just sat in the deck and watched the telly.
Well,
hope you bought a pint or two. Like.
Some people were partaking in the alcohol. I had a 0% Guinness, which was excellent. So I was
0% Guinness is very good.
It is. It's well done. It's very well done, and there's a place for it, and there is with a lot of the other lagers now. So, but this weekend I might go back down there if the weather's nice. That's it, guys. That brings this Jimmy Cricket Frank Carson Memorial episode to a close. I'm away home to watch YouTube videos of Jimmy Cricket.